Today's episode of Variant is brought to you by The Ben Heck Show.
Today on Variant, I talk about Star Wars, and I really wish lightsabers were real. Welcome to Variant, where we love comics more than Han shot first. That didn't make any sense at all, but dang it, Han shot first. I'm your host, Arris. Since Star Wars talk is the biggest thing right now, since we're getting 3 more movies, I'm going to talk about Star Wars comics and later touch on what the Disney deal could mean for current Star Wars publisher Dark Horse, because Disney owns Marvel. But now, I'm going to start the show with our first comic IQ hint.
This Star Wars character is a ruthless bounty hunter from the planet Duro.
It should be no shocker to any of you that I'm a pretty big Star Wars fan. And as far as the comics are concerned, I don't really read any of the current ones Dark Horse is putting out every month, but I did love and read the original Star Wars comics when Marvel had the rights. Marvel published a series of Star Wars comics from 1977 to 1986. The series lasted 107 issues with 3 annual issues. What's not really known is that the strong sales of Star Wars comics saved Marvel financially in 1977 and 1978. So not only did Luke save the galaxy, he saved Marvel. But that doesn't really matter because Mickey still rules them all. One thing I like most about the series is it went along with the movies and even expanded on it. Like issues 1 through 6 adapted the events of A New Hope, and issues 39 through 44 adapted The Empire Strikes Back. Marvel also published a miniseries adapting Return of the Jedi. I really liked how all the issues between the ones I just mentioned continue the gaps of stories between all the movies. So you get to see the side adventures that took place between all 3 of the original movies. What's a really cool piece of information is that Marvel gave us our very first glimpse of Jabba the Hutt and what he looked like. Now back then, all the original cuts of the Star Wars movies still existed, and in the original cuts, Jabba the Hutt didn't show up till Return of the Jedi. So since Marvel had no idea what Lucas was going to make Jabba the Hutt look like, they did their own thing, hence why he looks so different in the Marvel comics. So technically, I guess you can say Marvel had the original look for Jabba the Hutt. This series of Star Wars comics and the Star Wars comic strips in Pizzazz magazine, which was a magazine also put out by Marvel, were also the first of the contribution to the Star Wars expanded universe. That's right, kiddies, Marvel was the first to expand on the Star Wars universe and go beyond the movies, as I just said a bit ago. So if you were a Star Wars fan back then, as most people were, this series was the end-all be-all, as it was the only other stories we had for a while besides the movies. Since then, there's obviously been video games, TV shows, novels, and the list goes on. Like I said earlier, I don't read current Star Wars comics from Dark Horse, but I did dabble in them briefly in the 90s and early 2000s. So as far as recommending more current Star Wars comics for those of you who would like to read more recent ones, I can do that for you. And I'm gonna do that for you guys. The first one of which is Star Wars Agent of the Empire. The series is set a few years before Episode 4, A New Hope, and focuses on Agent J.N. Cross, who's very much the James Bond of the Star Wars universe. Sounds awesome? That's because it is freaking awesome. And the last recommendation I have is Star Wars Dawn of the Jedi. Now, I think the title alone should make any Star Wars fan go, what? Dawn of the Jedi as in the birth of Jedi's period? And yes, my young Padawans, pretty much exactly that. The series takes place in a time before the polarization of the light and dark sides of the Force, which is a brilliant idea. So let's see, I've told you about Star Wars history with Marvel Comics, I've recommended some newer and current Star Wars comics for you to read, so what else Star Wars can I talk about? I'm going to be telling you about where Dark Horse's fate lies with Star Wars comics due to the purchase of Disney buying Lucasfilms, along with me briefly giving you my thoughts on the purchase. But that's after our second comic IQ hint.
His primary weapons consist of 2 blaster pistols.
Join modding wizard Ben Heck and friends as they build and modify a host of amazing community-inspired creations. Be sure to watch new episodes of The Ben Heck Show each week right here at revision3.com/TBHS. In the latest episode of The Ben Heck Show, Ben builds a double-decker 3D printer. Don't forget to go to element14.com/TBHS to find out how you can enter to win the latest builds from Ben's show. Apparently Disney is buying every darn thing in the freaking world, like Pixar, Marvel, now Lucasfilms. And it's only a matter of time before they take over the world, enslaving us all, while forcing us all to sing It's a Small World After All. Now, with Disney's master plan of how Brain put ever so brilliantly trying to take over the world, what does this mean for other companies, in this case Dark Horse Comics? They've had the rights to Star Wars comics for like the last 20 years or so, but now that Disney bought Lucasfilms and the rights to Star Wars, does this mean Star Wars comics will go back to Marvel like they originally were? Well, president of Dark Horse, Mike Richardson, officially released a statement that says as follows: Dark Horse and Lucasfilms have a strong partnership which spans over 20 years and has produced multiple characters and storylines which are now part of the Star Wars lore. Star Wars will be with us in the near future. Obviously, this deal changes the landscape, so we'll have to see what this means for the future. Now, how I interpreted that, mainly the last sentence, is once the contract is up, Disney might not renew, as it would only make sense for them to use Marvel since they own it. Now, don't quote me on any of this. This is purely my opinion and speculation. I would be curious to see what Marvel would do with the Star Wars series once again. I did like it the first time around. At the same time, I did like the Dark Horse comics I did dabble in, so I'm indifferent, I suppose. However, maybe for the sake of Disney not taking over all forms of media, it should stay with Dark Horse. As for my opinion on Disney buying Lucasfilms and ILM, I think it's cool. I'm just happy we're getting 3 more Star Wars films. I know everyone is arguing on the interwebs whether or not they should continue the stories of the movies episode 1 through 6, or if they should go off and do a completely different story that just lives within the Star Wars universe. I personally think either way they go can be awesome. I just want them to be good movies. I don't want another Jar Jar Binks fiasco. I'd rather take a lightsaber to the butthole than have to listen to another lizard, dinosaur, rabbit thing whine for 2+ hours again. So yeah, that's my opinion on it. I'm super excited about getting 3 more movies. I don't care what route they go as long as they're good movies. Although, I do want to see them bring back Darth Maul somehow. First up for Wednesday the 5th is Earth 2 Issue 7. Earth 2 is an alternate universe and has alternate versions of all our favorite DC characters like Batman, Superman, Green Lantern, and so on. The series has been pretty enjoyable so far, and in this issue, the secret of Hawkgirl is revealed. Next, we have Detective Comics Issue 15. Joker, Joker, Joker is all I have to say. This is yet another tie-in to the Death of the Family story arc going on in Batman right now. Which if you aren't reading, by the way, what's wrong with you? Here we have Avengers Issue 1. Needless to say, I'm super excited for this issue and curious to see where Marvel now is going to take Earth's mightiest heroes. Now we have Amazing Spider-Man Issue 699. The Amazing Spider-Man title is coming to a close after 40+ years, as Marvel Now's Superior Spider-Man title will be taking over. It's still not sitting well with me. I don't like that they're changing the title name completely. Spider-Man will always be amazing or spectacular to me, not superior. And finally, we have Invincible Issue 98. This is part 1 of the Death of Everyone arc. The countdown to issue 100 begins here with a story that will change everything for Invincible. His powers have finally returned just in time for every life on Earth to rest in his hands.
This character was created for the Star Wars Clone Saga TV series. The answer is Cad Bane.
Well, that's all, folks, but before I leave you guys for another week, I'm going to be doing a giveaway. I'll be giving away a first print copy of issue 13 of Batman, which is the first issue of the Death in the Family story arc, along with a variant sticker. So nothing that big, I just want to do something kind of cool for you guys. All you have to do to enter is tweet to me saying, Arris, I want that comic, and I'll randomly choose one of the people who've tweeted to me at twitter.com/Arris_Quinones, and I'll announce the winner on next week's episode. Also, be sure to like our variant Facebook page, and I'll see you guys next week when I review 5 issues from Marvel Now.
This is where you say what?
What?
You suck a lot.
This is me dodging them. Today on Josh Sucks a Lot, Star Wars.